Hi guys, Mark Gellard here for Tennis One, and thanks very much for watching. I'd like to wish you all a happy 2012, and I hope you had a good vacation, and I'm looking forward to a great 2012 in your tennis game. Today I want to come to you and talk to you about something that's a little different to normal. I had the privilege to go to a USTA Tennis Performance Conference which focused on injury prevention and maximizing your tennis potential. And what I wanted to do today is to share 3 key things that I feel were really important and very useful for tennis players to know, and share them with you today, and hopefully you'll be able to take them to your courts and facilities and improve your tennis game immediately by using these 3 things. At this conference there were some of the top speakers in the world, such as Mark Kovacs, Pat Etcheberry, Joshua Dines, fantastic surgeons such as Ben Kibler. These guys are all leading the way in their fields, and they're using science and technology to understand tennis better and learn how we can use our bodies in a more effective way. So today I'd like to talk to you about 3 very distinct things. The first thing I'd like to discuss with you is understanding the difference between 2 types of serve. That is the push-up method and the pull-down method. 2 very distinct serves that have different characteristics, and one is more favorable than the other, and I'll get into that as we approach that. The second thing I'd like to talk to you about is the kinetic chain, and understanding how the first link in the kinetic chain, which is your ground reaction force with your foot, and the placement and alignment can affect the rest of your chain. And the third thing I'd like to talk to you about today is knowing how and when you should take a break from tennis, because you may be fatigued mentally and physically. So I hope you enjoyed this video today and can understand the things I'm talking about and take them immediately to your game to see improvements. Hope you enjoy. The first area I'd like to talk to you about today is understanding 2 distinct methodologies for serving. The preferred push-up method, which uses the full body to drive yourself into the ball, versus the pull-down method, which is favoured actually by a lot more by female tennis players. Venus Williams is a good example of this, and this can be a problem because it can cause a lot of injuries in the middle of the body, the core or the abs, because instead of driving your body up, you're pulling your body through or down with your abs and core. And this is not going to be as favourable for creating power, and can also increase your chances significantly of getting injuries in this area. And we're always trying to prevent injuries rather than treat them when they come. So take a look at these 2 videos and see the distinct differences between Federer's serve and Venus's serve. Both extremely effective and efficient serves, but Venus could be a lot more effective than she already is if she was to use slightly more of the push-up methodology rather than using the pull-down. Take a look.
Okay, so what you're going to notice now is Venus goes through her serve. She's really going to pull herself through with the left side of her body, going with her abs and her left arm. And that's going to cause her a lot of strain on her left abdominal muscles, where she often is prone to get injuries. But it's also going to cause her a lot of injuries. As you can see here, she's really pulling herself down. Now, as we go on, we're going to take a look now at Roger Federer. And what you're going to notice is he is slightly different using the push-up method. He's going to toss the ball up and use his entire body and kinetic chain to now drive himself up off the ground into the shot. There's nothing pulling him down, everything is pushing up, and that's a key difference.
The second area I'd like to talk to you about today is knowing when you need to take a break from tennis or physical activity. And a lot of the presenters at this conference I was at were very intense about knowing when your body needs a break, and you also need a break mentally as well as physically. And one of the great tools you can use is something called a pulse oximeter, which measures your oxygen consumption, oxygen saturation, and heart rate, among a couple of other things. But this isn't that practical for a lot of us. It's very expensive and difficult to use. So one of the great things that we can use is actually by using a vertical jump. And what you need to do in your off-season or when you're physically fresh, take a baseline measurement of your vertical jump. And then throughout the season, periodically test yourself. And if you're feeling tired and you do your vertical jump test, you may find that you're not getting as high as you normally do. And that's a great indication that your CNS, or central nervous system, is not working at maximum potential, and you may need to take some time away. It's a great way to help periodize your program and know when you need to give your body a break. Take a look at this video. It gives you a quick demonstration on how to do a vertical jump, and it's something that's a really effective tool. You can use it on the road right before a match if you're 3 days out and you want to know, should I train hard or taper my practice? This is a great way to help you make that decision. Take a look.
Okay, so now I'm just going to show you a very basic vertical jump test, and this is something that, as I've mentioned, you can use to test your physical function and activity. And simply here we're using a VersaMax, and we're just going to make a jump, a squat down, and then a jump up as high as we can, measuring the distance that we can get up. And that's going to be a great way to see how fresh we are, a good test of the central nervous system.
Third and final area I'd like to talk to you about today is the foot placement on your forehand and backhand ground strokes. And the foot is the first point of contact with the ground, so it starts off the kinetic chain. And one of the big problems I see with recreational and pro players is that a lot of times, especially on their close stance forehand and backhand, they're having their foot parallel to the baseline. The foot needs to be at a minimum angle of 45 degrees or facing the net post, similar to how you would on a serve. If your foot is parallel, you're blocking the hips. And the hip injuries are becoming more and more commonplace in tennis because players are not using their kinetic chain correctly. And you remember players such as Gustavo Kuerten and Leighton Hewitt have all had sidelined issues because of their hip problems, and that's often caused by bad foot placement. You're going to see a video here of two players, professional players, that are using their foot placement both correctly and incorrectly. And not only does it increase your chances of getting injuries, but it also will reduce the effectiveness of your shot, as you're not allowed to fully rotate internally and externally at the hip, so you're going to lose a lot of power. Take a look at these videos and make sure that when you're hitting your ground strokes, you work on the foot placements. It's the first point of contact in the ground reaction force.
Okay, now what you're going to notice about professional WTA player Vanya King here is as she places her front foot, it's almost parallel to the baseline. And this causes her a lot of problems to rotate internally and externally at the hip. And it's also going to lose a lot of power for her and increase her chances of injury. Watch how that foot is really looking awkward as she places it on the ground. Now we'll watch professional player Nikolai Davydenko. Watch his front foot as he places it down. It's at a 45-degree angle minimum, and that allows him full rotation in at the hips. He can drive through.
So to summarize today's lesson, we'll just go back through those 3 quick points. First of all, we want to make sure that we're using the push-up method versus the pull-down method, as it's much more effective and will reduce the likelihood of injuries. Secondly, we want to think about taking a baseline measure for our vertical jump and using this periodically throughout the season to test where we are physically, and maybe we need to taper down our practices or whether we can still continue to maintain the program we're currently on. And thirdly, understanding the importance of foot placement as it affects the whole kinetic chain on your forehand and backhand ground strokes. I hope you enjoyed today's lesson at Tennis One, and keep checking back throughout the year for more great videos. Thanks very much. I'm Mark Gellard.